The Neo Geo CD is a great way to experience arcade-perfect versions of classic Neo Geo games at a much more wallet-friendly price than the cartridge alternatives. However, most of the better CD games are still expensive, or are fighting games. For this video, I'm going to look at 5 reasonably priced Neo Geo CD games. However, I have 3 requirements. 1, they can't be fighting games. 2, they must be of decent quality. And 3, they must cost less than $20 US. So here we go. First up is Rally Chase. This isn't the greatest racing game of all time, but it is an enjoyable little romp. The action takes place from the overhead perspective, and there are 2 different events to compete in. The World Rally has 5 events, while the 1992 Dakar Rally has 6. Each rally can be completed rather quickly, but the varied environments and high difficulty means you'll be playing through them dozens of times trying to come in first place. Memorizing the tracks, especially the tricky sections, and choosing a car with a manual transmission is key to victory. The 6 cars aren't licensed, but the Toyota and the Subaru are immediately recognizable, which is kind of cool. The controls are twitchy at first, and it's very easy to oversteer into obstacles and walls. But once you get the hang of it, Rally Chase becomes fairly easy to control. The graphics definitely feel like 1992, and not a showcase for the Neo Geo CD by any stretch, but there are some nice scaling effects when you go over jumps, which is a nice touch. The music is upbeat and has a nice arcade feeling to it. Overall, Rally Chase is a decent game and a worthwhile game for the price. Street Slam is a 3-on-3 basketball game. Of course, being a Neo Geo game, this one is pure arcade action. Let me preface by saying this is not as good as NBA Jam, not by a long shot. However, it does 2 things exceptionally well. First, the soundtrack is outstanding. It's Redbook audio, so the quality is actually better than what is available on the cartridge versions. It's also awesome. The Japanese composers did their best to mimic the 90s hip-hop sound from the US, and sort of succeeded. Lyrically, it's a real treat, with some truly memorable lines that alone are worth the price of admission. Second, Street Slam is actually a lot of fun. It's not the deepest basketball game ever, using just 2 buttons on offense or defense, but the controls are responsive and the dunks are satisfying. If you complete 4 shots in a given half, you'll fill up your super shot meter, allowing you to sink a 3-pointer, complete with flames, or perform a spectacular dunk. The blocking, stealing, and shoving all work well enough, and overall, it's a very fun basketball game. Graphically, this one definitely feels like a Neo Geo game. The huge sprites, detailed courts, and great animation are a step above the 16-bit generation of consoles. Street Slam is a no-brainer, and a worthy Neo Geo game. You've no doubt played a Bust-A-Move title, or one of the hundreds of rip-offs available on nearly every platform. But this is where it all started. The game is very simple. Simply shoot bubbles onto the playfield. If you match 3 light-colored bubbles, they burst. When you clear the field, you move on to the next stage. The real depth of the game comes from the scoring system. Points are multiplied exponentially, so the name of the game is to try and get as many bubbles to fall at once as possible. However, time is also of the essence, and nice bonuses are also awarded for speed. The top of the playfield will also move downwards, making the playfield smaller and smaller. Not only that, the music gets faster and faster as the bubbles near the bottom of the screen. It all adds up for a surprisingly intense game, and is highly addictive. Bust-A-Move has just 30 levels total, but they are all quite varied, and it's more than enough for hour-long play sessions. It may not be the best looking or sounding Neo Geo game there is, but it's easily one of the best. Aero Fighters 2 is a horizontal shmup, and one of my all-time favorites. This game is actually fairly simple, with just a single weapon and a limited amount of bombs. Your main weapon can be upgraded 4 times, and that's as deep as it gets. There are 8 different characters to choose from, including a dolphin, and each have their own unique weapons and varying speeds. It's a lot of fun to experiment with each, and adds a lot of replay value to an otherwise short game. Some levels are also presented randomly, so each playthrough will be a different experience. The difficulty changes as well, so if you are presented New York early on, it will be easier than a previous playthrough when it was presented later, and therefore more challenging. Aero Fighters 2 has decent visuals. The bosses are usually huge, and there is often a ton of stuff on the screen at once, letting you know this is a step above home offerings of the time. The music is also awesome, especially for 1994, and keeps the tension high as you dodge bullets. Where Aero Fighters 2 truly shines is in the controls. There is something truly special about the way your ship feels, and there is a smoothness here that few other shmups possess. Aero Fighters 2 is a bit of an anomaly. Usually good Japanese shmups are rare and expensive. Aero Fighters 2 is cheap and plentiful, and very easy to recommend. Top Hunter is an incredibly fun side-scrolling action game. For the most part, you punch, grab, slide, kick, and throw enemies at each other to progress through the stages. Occasionally, you are given a gun with limited bullets. Even better, you often get to pilot a mech of sorts, which is always satisfying. The main gimmick here are the 2 different planes that you can jump back and forth from. There are plenty of minor puzzles that take full advantage of this, and some of the bosses occupy both planes at once, requiring you to jump back and forth to take them out. Graphically, Top Hunter is stunning, and a true showcase for the Neo Geo. The use of color is excellent, the animations are great, and the detail is exceptional. The 5 worlds cover everything you would want in a side-scroller, including forest, fire, wind, ice, and a final stage aboard a spaceship. Top Hunter is a real hidden gem. The fact that this game is so cheap is a crime, and a must-own for all Neo Geo CD owners. With the exception of Rally Chase, all of these games offer great 2-player modes as well. I also want to note the Japanese versions are usually significantly cheaper and what I actually own. And there you go, for less than $100, these are 5 good games spanning 5 different genres that all offer a ton of genuine Neo Geo arcade fun.